It's the Opperman Report. Join digital forensic investigator and PI Ed Opperman for an in-depth discussion of conspiracy theories, strategy of New World Order resistance, high-profile court cases in the news, and interviews with expert guests and authors on these topics and more. It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. Oh boy, I tell you, 7 o'clock comes up on you quick. Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, private investigator Ed Opperman. That's what I just said. And oh man, I screwed that up. Hold on, let me pull up my notes here. Oh boy, start off to a great show here. Great start to a great show. Let's see. The show is brought to you by CartKing.com. I gotta pull my little copy here. Sorry, I had it ready, but it's a lot of things going on here. 877-986-7771. That's cart-king.com. Now, have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? I'm sure you thought about it since I mentioned it to you every week. By now, you've been thinking about it, right? Now, perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Now, this means you're already in business, right? And you have a product you're selling, you want to advertise, you want to have point-of-sale locations across the country quickly at CartKing.com. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services. It means you got an office building, you got a warehouse, you want to make some extra money, so you put the little cart down there in the lobby and sell some coffee. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee, food, and carts and kiosks that money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee carts and kiosk stations. Indoors, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. You go to cart-king.com, you find a cart design or kiosk design that applies to your business. They're going to custom design it for you. They're going to custom build it for you. They're going to ship it for you worldwide, wherever you are. They're going to ship it to you. Okay. Let's see what's going on. I had some day today, man. Boy, I should just tell you about my day today, man. And forget all these stupid notes. Nobody cares about this stuff like that. I work all week long writing this crap. Nobody cares. Okay, who we kidding? They're just waiting for me to die of a heart attack live here on the air. That's what everybody who tunes in for. I know what you guys are up to. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we have... Ooh, it's a really good show. We have John Paul Rice, who's this filmmaker behind this movie called A Child's Voice. And it's about the ritual child molestation, ritual abuse of children. It's a really good film. You can check it out. And then in part 2, we have a replay of my interview with Aphrodite Jones about the Michael Jackson. And I just want, because, you know, the first interview, the guy was very passionate about his feelings about this topic. And then I want you to hear juxtapose that to Aphrodite Jones. It comes off a little differently. Okay, so this week we have our election coming up, and I just want to touch on a couple of points here in the local Nevada races. One is question 3, which is basically, will we allow competition to Nevada Energy here into Nevada? Okay, and so I'm yes on question 3. Now, it's unlikely that the average person is going to benefit from this. It seems to be a toss-up. And the way it's being portrayed behind the scenes by the political fixers and knowers and stuff like that is that, well, it's Sheldon Adelson who wanted to, he owns the Venetian, and he's a big Republican contributor, and he wanted to have an alternative to Nevada Energy, and they wouldn't let him have it, so now he went behind question 3. And on the other hand, you have Warren Buffett, who owns Nevada Energy. So it's a battle. They were playing all commercials around every 5 minutes. It's insane. It is crazy what's going on in this town. I got a pollster calling me up. Every other phone call is a pollster. Or someone doing canvassing. I don't even answer the phone anymore. It's beyond answering. So, obviously, with more competition, you get lower rates, right? If you got a monopoly, you're gonna raise your rates all the time. And since the destruction of Acorn, the systematic destruction of Acorn, there's no one to oppose Nevada Energy and their rate hikes. So this will benefit Sheldon Adelson and the big casinos, and the big, municipal buildings, like the water department and the school district, they'll be able to shop around for cheaper energy rates and get cheaper energy, and maybe that'll trickle down to the average person. But it's really not going to benefit your or my electric bill. The greatest estimate that they've given, most favorable, was that maybe we'd save $11 a month. Okay, you ought to save $11 a month. Turn off the light, So rather than go into all this trouble, but anyway, I'm yes on 3, which is one of the big questions here. Another one is I've done many shows about our local school board trustee Kevin L. Child, and if you're not familiar with that, just Google Ed Opperman, Kevin L. Child. Okay, and I went down to the school board. I spoke out and called for his resignation and stuff like that, and for good reason. I've known this guy for many, many years online from Facebook, and this online trollish behavior and racism and bigotry and just heartless attitude toward the poor. And so he's been exposed in the public, and it turns out, too, he's a creepy character, too. There's all kinds of allegations about sexual misbehavior and harassment of women and stuff in the schools. He was actually banned from visiting schools. So this is a school board trustee who's not allowed to visit schools. All right? Okay, it should be a no-brainer, right? You'd think. But you never know. Let's see. There was something else going on here in the past few days. We have a candidate running here in town named Danny Tarkanian. And he's the son of the famous Tarkanian basketball legend. My daughter actually played basketball at one of these Tarkanian basketball schools, whatever it is. So his wife is Amy Tarkanian, and she's the former chairman of the GOP in Clark County. And she made major news this week because she retweeted a tweet from Laura Loomer. Laura Loomer, the wacko, the nut. It came out in an article, and the article was posted in a local Vegas group, and Amy Tarkanian was commenting back and forth, so I started asking her some questions. And I says, how can you support that Laura Loomer? I called her a nut. And she says, well, she's not a nut. Her name is Laura, and she has been correct many times in the past when mainstream media got it wrong. Now, the tweet that she retweeted of Laura Loomer was Laura Loomer calling the mail bomber. Laura Loomer had a theory that was a hoax and the Democrats were behind it, somehow, it's one of these crazy theories, right? And here we have a legitimate candidate here on the ballot, his wife, retweeting that craziness. But what you got on, especially now, if you're a local Nevada resident, a voter here in especially southern Nevada, in the Las Vegas area, down here in the valley as they call it, is that Laura Loomer has this equally bizarre theory that the Las Vegas shooting, the Mandalay Bay, the October 1 shooting at Mandalay Bay, was an organized Muslim terrorist plot. And she's got a whole theory about this. So I went on to ask, hey, do you agree with that theory? She said, no, I don't agree with that one. Amy Tarkanian says. Then she stopped answering my question. She said I was being rude. Okay, because and I have screenshots of everything. What happened was she was complaining that the media outlet never contacted her for her side of the story. And I says, well, I just asked you a question. I'm a media outlet. You're not giving me your side of the story. And so she went back and replied to me, and then went later on and saw that like 20 minutes later. And it says, oh, I just did reply to you, so you're being rude to me and you're a lot. So anyway, so it ended off like that. Okay, not well. But then even more bizarre, just last evening, Amy Tarkanian posts an article on Facebook claiming that the FBI cleared Michael Flynn, the guy who pled guilty. Okay? She posted an article from over a year ago. It's when they claiming that the FBI cleared him when the guys pled guilty. So it just seems that there's a little wackiness going on there. Let's call it that. Okay, there's this little bizarre activity going on over there in Tarkanian land. And so, hey, listen, if you're into that kind of stuff, wild conspiracy theories and stuff like that about the bomber and about the shooter, the Las Vegas shooter, then this is the guy you might want to vote for, Okay. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. Let me tell you why I'm so, such a mess today. I'm so scraggled again and disheveled and confused. I don't know what the word I'm looking for. I've been telling you the story, the saga, lately about this young woman who I went down to bail her out, and I got her through the whole system there. She had to go to pretrial services, and she had a mental illness, So since then, I've been trying to help out, keeping her family apprised and updated and reporting back to her family what's going on with her court case and all this kind of stuff. So in pursuit of that, yesterday, I went down to the jail to visit her. And she wouldn't come out of her housing to come to the visit because it was 10 o'clock in the morning. But she was convinced that it was 2 o'clock in the morning. So she got mad at the corrections officers and she wouldn't come out of her room there to have her visit. But I had to go today. Now, and ever since then, too, I've really been affected by this and seeing the mental illness and the justice system and how people with mental illness are dealing with the justice system, criminal justice system. It's really opened up my eyes to a lot here that I've never seen before. And that's why I did that show with Larry Lawton. And the whole idea was, hey, what about, prisoners and people going through the court system, who have mental illness? That was supposed to be the main topic of the show. So I've been dealing with this. I've been coping with this. Now, today I had an experience that I've never had before what am I, 55 years old? So you figure about 30 years as a private investigator? On and off. But many times you'll have to go to court when you're for a client or a lawyer, right? But usually when I go to court, the client has retained an attorney. It's not the public defender. So today I had to go to a status check. Now, it would be very unusual for me to go to a status check in another case. A status check could be in a case where guy's arrested and they put him through drug court and he has to go, and they want to check up on him. Hey, have you been going to your drug appointments? Have you been going to your classes? Have you been doing this? A status check, right? It's not a big hearing or anything like that. So normally I wouldn't go to a status check. I'll go to an arraignment, or go to an evidentiary hearing, whatever. And even when I go to those kind of hearings or court dates, I'm there with an attorney who's a paid attorney who's being paid. So what happens is when you go into an arraignment and they're arraigning 40 people, Out of those 40 people, 6 of them have lawyers that are paid. The rest are being represented by the public defender. So the judge will call all the cases for people who have lawyers, or professional courtesy, because you want to get them in and out the door, right? Everyone else is just sitting around all day. You're going to sit around in jail all day anyway. Nobody cares, right? But you got these lawyers that billing a lot of money, get them in and out the door fast. And as a courtesy to even to court workers, like translators or expert witnesses or investigators, whatever, if the defendant has someone like that, a civilian who's working for his case, they'll try and get those cases through first. So it's very unusual for me to be at a hearing or an appearance or a status check and have to sit there through the whole thing. Okay, usually I'm in and out with the guys, the guys getting paid, But today that wasn't the case. I had the most bizarre morning at the Regional Justice Center that I have ever had in my life. Or I think the most bizarre morning I've ever had in any courtroom I've ever been in my life. What I had to do this was a status check for people who were either been declared incompetent to stand trial, or they're coming back from being ruled to be competent now. They're back from the treatment, And it was basically all people with serious mental illness. Not all of them had serious mental illness, but many of them did. There were 80 of them. 80 defendants. Okay, I got there at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's 11 o'clock. 80 defendants. And basically what it was is, they were charged with a crime. Their attorneys couldn't communicate with them. They're acting up. You could tell they're just, bizarre behavior. And the attorney asked for them to be evaluated to see if they were competent to stand trial. And so they're visited by a doctor in the jail. That doctor makes a recommendation. If it's decided that they're incompetent to stand trial, they're sent to a mental facility, a psychiatric hospital, state-run psychiatric hospital for a very short time. 30 days tops, 60 days tops. Go in there to put them on some medication, try and clean them up and get them out on the street again. Okay, and either they have to go back and face their charges, or they're capable now. They're thinking clearly. They drop the charges. So you're having an episode there, and we see now you're back to your senses. We're going to drop the charges. Okay, so but we had to sit there because after the judge tells these, because what happens is the judge asks the DA, okay, what came back from the medical visit? Okay, well, we've just, he's been ruled, the doctor visited him in the jail, and the doctor thinks he needs to be referred to these 2 hospitals that they kept mentioning all day long. So then, the judge has to tell the defendant, well, here's what's happening to you. Right? She basically says the same thing every single time. Okay? But every now and then, one of these guys, he don't want to hear it. He's arguing back with the judge. He's still, I'm perfectly fine. Let me tell you. And sometimes, too, the problem is that they don't want to talk to the doctor. They don't want to come out of their housing to talk to the doctor while they're in the jail. They refuse to talk. So that's kind of they get pushed over to the psych ward anyway when they do that. And one guy's going, well, I know I didn't talk to him at first because he said it was voluntary, but since then I've been transmitting. The judge, what are you talking about? Well, I've been transmitting my thoughts to him. I've been communicating with him that way when we talk all the time. So it's a lot of these people were really, really out of it, man. And, some of it's just heartbreaking, tragic. Some people just have no understanding of where they are and who they are and what they're even doing there or how they got there. And then there's some people, too. There's a couple of murderers there today. This is an interesting hearing to go to. If you ever want a status check on competency, this is fascinating. If you're a court watch, you want to go see something, man, this is fascinating stuff. Because there were a couple of people in there that were on murder charges. And you could tell they were competent, but they were trying to, finagle the system there a bit, Very intense morning. Now, turns out my client, such a sweetheart, too. She's, the judge even said, I think when you go visit the hospital and you come back, you're going to be a lot better because you're a real smart cookie. And she really is. She's such a nice kid, man. And in this group of people, Some of them just lost their way and they're just out of their minds. But some of these people, you can tell, they're troublemakers. They're out there causing trouble all the time. Okay. I hope I'm getting something out here today. Let me take a little commercial break. Do I have my commercials set up? I do not. Let me set up my commercial, then I'll take a commercial break. I'm exhausted. I got to stop scheduling these kind of work things on. I couldn't avoid it today, but okay, we'll be right back after these messages. And now a word from our sponsors. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subash Technosis by email at info@subashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH. Okay, welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Hey, I want to apologize. I know a lot of the people listening over on awakeradio.us or People's Internet Radio or Public Streaming Network, PSN Radio, had some audio trouble tonight. That I guess the volume was a little bit too loud and it sounded a lot of distortion. I really apologize for that, but once it started, there was nothing I could do. I did the best I could. So you can always check out the archives on YouTube, on the Ed Opperman YouTube channel, or on Spreaker.com, the Ed Opperman channel, the Opperman Report channel on Spreaker, on iHeart or iTunes. So I apologize because it was a really good show too. We had on the woman from the Amityville Horror Hoax, and then we had Stuttering John from the Howard Stern Show. Okay. Oh, by the way, too, I noticed here too. One more thing with this. I tell you, it never ends. One more thing with this Amy Tarkanian is she posted another thing tonight. There's and not just her, okay, because this is going around. A lot of people are talking about this. This article about how breaking news, one of Brett Kavanaugh's accusers admits that she made the whole thing up. Now, just so people understand, This has nothing to do with this Dr. Ford or any of the witnesses that Avenatti brought forward or any of these credible witnesses. I think her name was Rodriguez, another woman came from. This is talking about an anonymous letter, okay, that the Congress received, an anonymous letter that no one never made it to the news or the TV or anything. It's some anonymous letter that this woman's admitting that she faked. So this article is very, very misleading. And again, was put up there by Turkanian, the wonderful Amy Turkanian. Okay, let's see here. What's going on next here? Boy, what a long day, man. Okay, good. Okay, let me go back here. Okay. Surefire Nutjobs. Okay, let's get into this one. This is probably the greatest story. I love this kind of stuff, man. I really do. It has a little bit of everything, and of course, like everything, it has an Opperman Report connection. Okay, right? I like to talk about things I have some kind of connection to, a first-hand involvement with, and this I do. Surefire Intelligence, or Surefire Nutjobs, right? Fascinating story. Now, how this story broke this week, and if you've been watching this on the news, you got the first layer. There's a lot going on here. Where do we start? Okay, let's start with this. If you go to OppermanReport.com and you join the members section, I have the full unedited press conference that Jack Berkman and Jacob Wall did this week in Virginia, where they were supposed to bring forth their witness. But the witness was the witness was threatened. Her life was threatened. Jacob Wall claims he was threatened 100 times. He's got 100 death threats. And Jack Berkman claims he's got about 12. So what's this all about? Well, this is so complicated. A woman named Lorraine Parsons, right, started contacting people in the media saying, hey, I got this crazy email from a company called Surefire Intelligence. And they were asking me, they offered me $20,000 to say that I had some kind of allegations against Robert Mueller. And she even goes on to say, hey, and she mentions Bachman, and she says that Surefire Intelligence said that they worked for a guy named Jack Berkman, who was an attorney. And she says, and they even knew all of my credit card debt. They knew the exact amount of all my credit card debt. And they offered to pay that off, pay me $10,000, pay me even to have a conversation with them. Pay me. Right? And she sends this out, so people start going to Mueller. And Mueller comes back with a statement saying, I'm referring this case to the FBI because I'm being set up here. He comes out with a statement. But then also, too, the media comes back with this whole really professional investigation, okay, into Surefire Intelligence and to Jacob Wall, and they're tracing the phone numbers back. Okay, I know a little bit about tracing phone numbers, okay, and your average guy off the street cannot tell you where a number rings to. Okay, it's like when you set up an 800 number, you have it, you get an 800 number from the phone company, whatever. It's not, it rings to another number. So they're talking about that this company, Surefire Intelligence, which is a bogus company, and there's no other way to describe it, that was set up by Jacob Wall under a fake name and had a fake website with fake people on it. And he had a bunch of Google phone numbers that rang to his mother's phone number, a voicemail under his mother's name. Now, the average guy, even the average reporter, BuzzFeed, and all these kind of guys, can't pull that off. Okay? I can do it. But I can list on my hand, sources out there that can pull that kind of thing off, okay? That can get that kind of information. And also, too, let me tell you something else. Berkman and Wall are no slouches either, because obviously they were able to run a credit report on this woman, this Jennifer Taub, Lorraine Parsons, because they had a copy of her credit report. They knew exactly how much she owed. The press starts looking into this whole thing. Who is Surefire Intelligence, right? With information I think that they got from the FBI. And they contact Jacob Wall and says, hey, we've been looking at your website. We've been looking at this. This phone number terminates at your mother's phone number, okay? And he says, I have nothing to do with Surefire Intelligence. I don't know what you're talking about. He goes on and on. Now, let's back up here a little bit. Who is Jacob Wall? Jacob Wall is only 20 years old. He's a 20-year-old kid, right? And how he became a famous guy is he was a hedge fund manager at the age of 14 years old. But things didn't turn out so well with that, okay? And he's been banned from running a hedge fund or even doing any kind of trading. He can't even open up an E-Trade trading account, okay, at his young 20 years. So, but now, he's a right-wing blogger, and he writes for, what's that, a pundit thing, the True Pundit, I don't read any of that crap. But anyway, or follow any of those nuts. I try and stick to stuff that I know about. But somehow he's hooked up with this guy, Jack Berkman, this attorney and lobbyist, Washington, D.C. lobbyist and radio host. Now, who is Jack Berkman? Jack Berkman, the way I first found out about him is that he, offered a reward into the case of Seth Rich, the murder of Seth Rich. Seth Rich was the DNC staffer, was murdered on the streets of Washington, D.C., and his cell phone was still in his possession, so, I think his wallet was still in his possession. So right away everybody assumes Hillary had to have killed him because he was the leaker who was leaking WikiLeaks, and all this kind of stuff, right? Crazy theories. Now, way back, there was another incident right around the same time. Remember the DNC lawsuit? There was a guy named Sean Lucas who was the process server in the DNC lawsuit. And after he served the papers on the DNC, he turned up dead in his apartment. So I talked about that. It seemed suspicious to me. And there was a meme out there claiming that he was the lawyer in the lawsuit and he wasn't the process server. I was trying to correct that. And I was contacted by a friend of his, who told me that he was very suspicious about all this. But as time went on, the friend was convinced it was a drug overdose. I spoke to members of his family. As time went on, they were convinced it was a drug overdose. He was never the attorney. He was a process server. The toxicology came back. It was a drug overdose. And I even said that when I interviewed the Becks, Elizabeth Beck, the attorney for that lawsuit. She started bringing up all this. And I says, oh, no. I looked into that. I spoke to his family. I spoke to his friends. Spent some time on this. And we're convinced that it was an overdose. Me and Elizabeth Beck never seemed to click during that interview. And looking back on it, I'm very suspect of that whole lawsuit. But I guess it was right around that time that I says, you know what? Let me take a look at this Seth Rich thing. I see all these people talking about it. There was a murder that was involved in Pizzagate and WikiLeaks and this and that and everything. Even one character, that nut George Webb, was claiming that he was assassinated in the hospital because hospitals, every hospital, right, has an assassin there working there for the government. Usually in the laundry room or the maintenance department. They got a hitman there at every hospital just in case they need him. This is what I heard him say this. At another point, he was trying to say that the Awan brothers were the hitmen who killed Seth Rich. Okay. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. But, I start looking into this. So I contact Jack Berkman. We go back and forth a little bit here, and emails back and forth. And finally, I get him on the phone. And I want you guys to go and find that press conference, okay? Because when they have this press conference, their whole story falls apart, okay? Their whole scheme here to set up this phony intelligence company, Surefire Intelligence, and I could just see the thinking in their head. Hey, you know what, man? That guy, Christopher Steele, he set up this phony dossier and all that. We made all this. We can do the same thing. All we got to do is set up our own little PI company here, Surefire Intelligence, LLC. And then we're going to write our own dossier that smears Mueller. And it's going to get just as much press as the Steele dossier because it's all fake. It's all made up, right? It's all bogus. It's all dodgy. We could do it too. This is what this 20-year-old kid is thinking. And then when it gets to the press conference, they totally fall apart, man. They can't answer a simple question. When you get the lights on them and they're being interrogated, they can't get anywhere. They fall apart. They fall apart under questioning. And that's what happened when I talked to Jack Berkman. When I talked to him about his reward and investigation into Seth Rich and the Seth Rich murder and assassination, stuff like that, he totally fell apart. There was nothing there. And I came back and I told you back then. In fact, go back and find my old shows. Google Ed Opperman, Seth Rich, where I'm talking to you about all this. Okay? And now you can see it firsthand. You can see it firsthand, the kind of nut jobs behind that whole crazy Seth Rich story. Now, I don't know, man. Seth Rich, it's an unsolved murder. I don't know who murdered him. Okay? But all these theories out there with Kim.com and all this stuff, none of that has any credibility whatsoever that I could find. And it's, again, these kind of wacky characters like Jack Berkman and Jacob Wall and Kim.com and all these nut jobs out there coming up with these stories. Now, since this first woman here, this Lorraine Parsons, came forward with her emails, copies of emails where she mentions Jack Berkman, where she mentions Jacob Wall, another woman has come forward, a law professor named Jennifer Taub, and she tells the exact same story. She was contacted by this Surefire Intelligence by a guy named Cohen, which was a fake name that this guy Jacob Wall was using, and then they were offering me money to tell him what kind of dirt I had on Mueller. Now, I got to tell you something else, too. That's my work. This is the kind of work I do. Okay. I go around looking to dig up dirt on people. I do this for a living. You don't send an email, a blind email to someone that's offering them $20,000. What do you have, your mind? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of. That is not even when I was a stupid 20-year-old would I do something so stupid with no supervision. But this, and also too, guys, the way this whole thing is set up, this kid Wall is in so much trouble right now. He's gonna get a fine. The PI boards, man, they love to go after people like this, man, who are operating unlicensed and all that, out of control and all wacky, doing wacky stuff. PIs love to report each other. Okay. One of these newspapers here, what is this here? Let me find this one. They've already been to the PI board. Making sure. The Daily Beast, okay, went to the Washington State PI board, president of the PI board, asking questions. Hey, what do you think about this kid, Jacob Wall? I think he's in trouble. He goes, oh, yeah, he's in trouble. So, yeah, he's in trouble, right? So, but the thing is, now, there's so many ways, because this kid's not a licensed PI, and this Surefire Intelligence has no licensing. There's no, credentials behind these people. But the thing is there's ways to do this, okay? Because Jacob Wall could work as an investigator, for Jack Berkman. Jack Berkman's an attorney. He can hire anybody he wants to do investigations. What Jacob Wall can't do is advertise that he's a private investigator without a license in a state that requires licensing, which every state he's been involved in. And all these states, man. See, everyone's going to be making complaints about this kid to every state involved in it. California, Washington State, New York, where Mueller is, Virginia, D.C. Because these people are nuts. They got nothing to do with sit around and make complaints. It turns out, okay, that this Jacob Wall, by the way, he says on his news conference, well, this is what kind of experience, you're 20 years old, what kind of experience do you have as an investigator to do surefire intelligence, right? And he says, well, I've been doing these one-off investigations. Just roll out of bed one day, and this is what this really bugs me too about these tweeters and people like this, these bloggers. They all think they're investigators. Just roll out of bed. Well, I'm an investigator now. Well, so are you. Yeah, we all are. Okay, right? He could have. See, Berkman can hire anybody he wants to investigate for him. He could have done this as Berkman's investigator, and he wouldn't have gotten in any trouble. Or he could have set up his company in a state that doesn't require licensing. Or he could have worked under a licensed investigator. There's a bunch of retired investigators out there that would love to get involved in this kind of stuff. Millions of them. Not millions, but dozens. Easy to find. There's whole websites you can go to that'll help you do this kind of stuff. All right, let me take a commercial break here. I'm getting exhausted. I can't go on like this anymore. I can't go on like this. Oh, Gateway, I'm hearing from the peanut gallery here that Gateway pundit fired Wall yesterday. They fired his butt. All right, let's get back to the messages here. We'll be right back after these messages with more of the Opera Report. And now a word from our sponsors. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all the kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites, and we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing and distribution, and much, much more. Now, you can get a hold of Subash Technosis by email at info@subashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSH ASUBASH. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. Show's brought to you by CartKing.com. Don't forget my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You can get that on my website, emailrevealer.com. You need an adoption investigation, locates, and asset searches. Now, back to our hero here, Jacob Wall. Turns out that Jacob Wall didn't just put this whole thing together to go after Mueller. He didn't create this company, Surefire Intelligence, to go after Mueller. This is something he was doing. He just was running this phony PI company and getting business by running ads on Craigslist because he had another client. And the other client has come forward. Her name is Julianne Adams. Now, what her story is, she lived in Washington State, okay? And she got a divorce. She was living in her Humvee, right? And someone stole her Humvee, right? And she knew who the guy who had it. She wanted to get it back. And she wanted to hire a guy named Cohen, who was really Jacob Wall, to get her truck back for her. This kind of job, hey, can you locate my truck? My house is robbed, all this jewelry was stolen. Can you locate it? You go through and you contact all of the pawn shops and stuff. It's a real type of job. She pays him, I think it's $1,200. Yeah, $1,200. Again, fairly normal retainer. And he comes back and tells her, oh, yeah, we ran his credit reports. She's telling him. And we know exactly how much money he has in his bank accounts because we ran asset searches on him. And we're going to get this truck back for you in a couple of days. Then he disappears on her. Then she starts seeing all this stuff on the news about Mueller and all this. She says, what the hell's going on here? Surefire Intelligence, those are my PIs working for me trying to get my truck back. Meanwhile, this woman, she doesn't have $1,200. She's living in her car. How do you steal from someone living in their car? So after she contacts him, after all this stuff starts hitting the news, man, and she starts contacting him and contacting reporters and stuff like that, he gets back to her and says, hey, we got you. We talked to the guy who stole your truck. He's going to pay us off. We're going to have $20,000 for you. $20,000 again. It's the same amount that we're talking about paying these witnesses with the Mueller thing. They have a checkbook that's pre-written out for $20,000. All you got to do is sign it and put the payee in there. Okay? And then he's telling her, not only will I'll refund your money and give you 30% if we don't get you back all this money. So he's willing to pay off this woman $20,000 just to keep her quiet about scamming her. So this kid knows he's in trouble here, and he'll probably get probation on this. You can get charged criminally. There's definitely fines involved. Okay, I don't know what it is in his state, man, but in certain states, there's criminal charges. And also to civil, fines. So this kid's in big trouble for sure. But the point is behind all this is I want you to watch this news conference and see these guys in action. Read about these. Their plan here to come up with these witnesses against Mueller, so heavy-handed and sloppy, creating this phony intelligence company. Oh, we're going to make a fake dossier just like Steele did. All this stuff. And when you watch this, I want you to stop and think and say, hey, these are the guys behind the Seth Rich story. These are the guys behind the whole Seth Rich conspiracy plan. All this stuff happened, blah, 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 blah. Nobody knows what happened to Seth Rich. And the more that I meet these kind of people and I get in contact with them, my skepticism is double down, triple down. Okay? Because they all seem to be a bunch of flakes. And it's really disturbing to me. It really is. Because I got to tell you, I'm really doing this. Like, I'm not making stuff up, man, to bring on the radio for you here, okay, I did a show about the Amityville Horror and Stuttering John, kind of fun shows, but I'm not making up conspiracies and making up stuff and bringing it on here. or elaborating on things that I know aren't true. But at the same time, I'm sticking my way way out, like when I have this FBI guy on who ran the anthrax investigation, and I bring him on the show, and his story falls apart right in front of you. I didn't say it right to his face, man. And I'm kind of shocked that more people aren't saying, "Hey, boy, this guy couldn't really defend the official story, could he?" But what do you think? You think there's no ramifications in my life when something like that happens? Because there are. So this is where, I say, well, hey, I'm sticking my neck out. Are you supporting the work I'm doing? Are you sticking your hand out to me? Are you offering me a helping hand, some support? Because it doesn't seem like it. It seems like this is kind of a one-way street. Where I get up at the crack of dawn and go down and, visit people in the jails, and then you get them out of jail and, come to write notes all day long, do a show for you, and I'm getting kicked all over the place, up and down the block, and living on credit cards now, Everybody listens. Well, great stuff, Ed. How many people out there, talking about this Berkman story, they actually dealt with these people? So that's where we are. If you want to support the show, you can go to OppermanReport.com. If you want to hear this show next week, you know what I mean? You go to OppermanReport.com. You can send a donation. There's a donate button here. Keep the show live on the air. I got to renew on KYAH coming up. Got to do a lot of bills coming up. We still haven't paid last month's bills because we were short last month. Okay, if you want to get a membership, all right, 13 months, $65. You contact me directly at oppermanreport@gmail.com, and you can become a member. You want to advertise on the show? This would be a great time to do it, because, it's the second of the month, and we haven't paid the bills from last month. If you want to advertise, let me tell you, man, people definitely know the sponsors we have. I hear jokes about it all the time, all kinds of contact and stuff. People joke about CartKing.com. They're still joking about the New World Mexican women and stuff. Everybody knows these sponsors. We got them when they need you. They call you. Subash Technosis. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. What else? Oh, boy. Hey, there's a great article in the New York Times about the Roger Stone emails. Oh, my God. Anybody who says that there's nothing there with the conclusion and all that stuff like that, man, you can read the emails between him and Bannon and go-betweens between him and Bannon. It's all there, man. Go there and check that out. There's a crap storm coming down here, man, in the next couple of months after these midterm elections. And I think we're going to be shaken to our core. When we see the corruption and the games that went forth here with this Trump campaign and these ragtag bunch of con men and thieves and crooks and, and thugs and, Russian goons and all kinds of stuff, that he had running his campaign. Let's see what else, any kind of other stuff here. I'm checking here, my notes. Oh, boy. We had here in Vegas, we had a house that was vandalized with swastikas. And that's a whole terrifying situation. I did a show about anti-Semitism a couple of weeks back, even before this big shooting, because I've just seen this rise in anti-Semitism. You see a lot, man, when you're in the public eye, I guess you call it, Oh, hey, Facebook banned the Proud Boys. I guess that's good news, right? Oh, and Trump says that he can defy the Constitution and end birthright citizenship. Hey, what about this business here, man, with Trump saying that he wants to shoot little kids at the border for throwing rocks? Oh, my God. Do people really listen to that and say, I agree with that, Now, first of all, this whole idea of, calling these refugees coming to seek asylum in our country, calling them an invasion. Okay, even if there's 10,000 of them, do you know how many people cross back and forth those borders between U.S. and Mexico, U.S. and Canada every day? It's way more than 10,000. Okay, just so you know. All right? Or come in on airplanes from China and Russia and stuff like that, and overstay their visas. You know what I mean? So this idea that this is an invasion, those same people, if they could afford a plane ticket, could fly in. Okay, and then you would we put the military at the airports to stop them? Okay, if they flew in and sought asylum? Stop and think. And, people are so angry about this topic, this fear that's being driven in people, and hatred for immigrants and hatred for people that are different from yourself. You gotta please stop and take a breath, man. If something's making you lash out at me, and kind of go crazy on me because of something you hear on this show. Hey, by the way, too, we were talking before about it's kind of funny because all these allegations against Mueller, these crazy, the Surefire intelligence allegations. Even Giuliani came forward when people asked him about this. He says, well, that's not the Robert Mueller I know. He's never been involved in anything like that. So, it's like even, oh, God, it's just so, what do you call it? Inept. This whole thing was so freaking inept. Hey, one more thing too, man, before I go, because I'm really tired, is I'm starting another Daniel fast. So if you want to start the Daniel fast with me, just get a hold of me. And if you want to take little notes of your Daniel fast, take some pictures before and after pictures, I'll put you in a book. You can be in a book with me, of all of our experiences with the Daniel fast. There's very little work involved, pictures, and you go on a fast for a month and describe your conditions. Hey, by the way, came out too this week that Sylvester Stallone will not be charged for the 1990 sexual abuse charges. Go back and check out the shows I've done with Stallone. It's... the title of the show is something about, I take it all back. Everything I said was wrong, and I don't mean it anymore. And I tell all the allegations against Stallone over the years. So check that out as well. And, you hear it here first, man. And then the opera report, then it comes out later on in the regular meeting. Regular news. All right, guys, I got to go. I'm exhausted. I'll play a little commercial and take it out. Good night. Coming up next is Pierce Redmond and Topo Gigio for the kids. And now a word from our sponsors. Check out CartKing.com, 877-986-7771. Have you ever thought about opening your own mobile cart or kiosk business? Perhaps your current business wants to add multiple point-of-sale locations across the country quickly. Maybe the facility you manage could kickstart revenue by adding coffee, food, or retail services, like let's say you own an office building or a warehouse. Put one of these carts there in the lobby. Well, CartKing.com can be the answer to your needs. CartKing.com is a North American designer and manufacturer of the finest mobile retail coffee and food carts and kiosks money can buy. For 20 years, CartKing.com has been working with clients and corporations across America to provide indoor and outdoor carts and kiosks for any application. From large, heated, and secure outdoor retail or food kiosks to smaller, more mobile coffee kiosks or coffee stations, coffee carts, CartKing.com designs and builds them all. Carts and kiosks are fun, and so are the dozens of designs on the website, CartKing.com. Please visit today at CartKing.com or just call them at 877-986-7771. Tell them Ed Opperman sent you and you get a good deal. Remember, all these shows on Awake are brought to you by emailrevealer.com. You can go to emailrevealer.com and get a copy of my book, How to Become a Successful Private Investigator. You also do all those kind of different services for you. Online dating service investigations called an online infidelity investigation. And that's where you give us your husband or your boyfriend, your girlfriend's email address, and we trace it back to their online dating websites. And we return a list of all the dating sites that email is registered to. We can expand on that investigation and trace it back to porn sites, escort service sites, swinger sites, gambling websites, and even prescription drug websites, and all kinds of digital forensics, computer and cell phone digital forensics, where we can recover deleted content from an email or a hard drive and produce a report for you that you can use in court. That's emailrevealer.com, or you can contact me at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. The Opperman Report is brought to you by SubhashTechnosis.com. Subash Technosis is a search engine optimization and website design company. They're located in India, so you know you're going to save a lot of money and get top quality service. They offer all sorts of business process outsourcing, data entry, banking BPO services, recruitment process outsourcing, software testing, offshoring, research network, customer care, press release, content writing and distribution, and much, much more. Now you can get a hold of Subash Technosis by email at info@subashtechnosis.com. Their website is www.subashtechnosis.com, and their Skype is ANUSHASUBASH.